I've wasted a lot of my life, and I want to help you to not do that, guys. And when I say wasted my life, you might think I haven't, because I ended up becoming a multimillionaire. I've published books that have sold hundreds of thousands of copies. I've grown on YouTube to my other channel to 370,000 subscribers, became financially free, own a bunch of real estate, run marathons, yada, 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 have a beautiful life. However, here's the thing, okay? I should be a lot more successful than I am. I've been doing YouTube for about 13 years, and my biggest channel has 370,000 subscribers. It might seem like a lot, but I should have millions of subscribers by now, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why I don't, and I'm gonna save you from making the same mistakes that I did. I've been thinking about this a lot, and if there's one piece of advice that I would give as my most important piece of advice, as the advice I would give to my younger self and to anyone who would listen, it is simply this. Master things. All right, that might seem really basic and really simple, but listen to me, okay? There's a lot more to it than what I just said. What I mean by this is that, let me give you an example, okay? Like I said, I've been doing YouTube videos for about 13 years, all right? In only the last 2 years have I learned really anything about lighting, written any kind of scripts, learned anything about writing scripts, learned anything about editing. You know, I'm editing my own videos now, and production, color grading, sound, any of those things that would make someone successful on YouTube. Instead, what I did for most of the time was I got good enough, and then I just started producing videos, and it worked, right? I mean, when you have no other thing to do, volume wins. Being prolific. In fact, I used to give speeches, and they had that all you need to do is be prolific. And that might have been true in the early days of social media, but even then, it would have been way more beneficial to be a lot more focused and put a lot more work into the content. So let me give you an example. I haven't really advertised my new channel, and you can go and find it. I'm not even gonna give a link to it because I want it to grow more organically than anything else. But I have a new channel, okay? And on that channel, I've got maybe 7 videos at this point, and I'm publishing super high quality videos that I'm doing the full production. That means I'm writing the script, I'm filming it, I'm editing it, I'm putting in the sound, I'm doing everything, color correcting it, right? The only thing I'm not doing is creating the thumbnails, right? Now, how long do you think it takes me to make one of those videos? Well, the editing alone takes me 20 to 30 hours. I think the last video I did, it took me 30 hours to edit an 8.5 minute video, okay? That's the level of work, and there's YouTubers, all right, that have 10 million subscribers, 50 million subscribers, like Eric, and they spend 2 to 3 weeks on one 15-minute video, 12 hours a day with a team, okay? So the point of this is this, all right? If at the beginning of my YouTube career, if I would have started out and I would have not tried to create all this volume and just produce videos and do all these other things that I was doing at the time, but I just said, all right, I'm just gonna create the best videos that I can. I'm gonna slow down, and I'm gonna learn everything I can about it. I'm gonna keep on trying to do the best I can and keep on trying to improve. I would be at 10 million subscribers, definitely. And not only that, but all the money, all the success I've had in my life, right? Over the last 13 years, I've made probably $5 or $6 million, maybe more than that, right? Best-selling books, you know, whatever you want to fill in the blanks there. So many different accomplishments and things and products I've sold and businesses I've created and coaching, all right? I would have made more money now without selling any product, just the advertising revenue from YouTube over the 13 years. Think about that. Okay, now it would have been a slower start, it would have been a slower go, all right? But then it would have rapidly seen exponential growth. And I'm 1,000% sure of this. I know this because I know this now, because my other channel that I started up, it hasn't grown to massive proportions now, but with me putting in, 30, 40 hours into one video, I'm seeing massive growth and massive views compared to the size of the channel that I just started. Okay, so here's the point of this, right? The advice that I would give you is to pick one thing, focus on it and focus going so hard that you master that thing before you move on to anything else. And it doesn't matter what it is. I'm using YouTube as an example because it dawned on me. I realized this. I know this now, that all I had to do was focus. Not only does that work, but I enjoy it a lot more. It's so much fun working on these epic videos, and I'm able to put so much joy. It feels rewarding. It doesn't feel like a grind as much to me, okay? Because the actual process is enjoyable as opposed to just trying to get the outcome, which I know a lot of you guys are trying to do. Now, so again, I want to give you some examples of this, how this works everywhere. Let's say that most people are working a regular job, all right? And I did this early in my career, and that's why I was successful as a software developer. But if you pick some kind of, let's say you are a software developer, programming language, and you just become the expert, you niche down on that, and you just master that. So you know the language inside and out. You know, for me, what I did was I learned C++ inside and out. I went to this site called Topcoder, and I would do programming competitions. And at first I sucked, but then I kept on studying, learned the standard libraries, learned all of these things, STL, don't worry about the terms, but I just focused on that, right? And then I became a software developer eventually that was able to charge $300 an hour for my services, right? And become famous, you know, with best-selling books in software development, right? Okay, so, but my point is, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? If you're in business right now, if you made Instagram posts, for example, I've been talking about this concept about like making short content, making reels, whatever, you know. If you focused on just perfecting that, studying the viral content, studying the hook, studying the editing of it, studying the pacing, studying the story, the scripting, and just honed in on that and spent months just focused on making the best short form content that you could. And I know some people that have done that, and they now have multi-million-dollar agencies doing that. You would succeed. Whatever it is, I've got a friend of mine who he was struggling with his business, right? And then he shifted his business into another business model, and he decided to follow Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets, and do a webinar to sell it. And at first, it sucked. He couldn't sell anything. It didn't work. But then he kept on doing a live webinar every single weekend. Every single week, he would do one, and he would change something, and he would iterate. And it took him a year. But eventually, he got to the point where that webinar was so good that he was selling, and he was selling profitably, and now he's making over $1 million a year with that business, and it's continuing to grow, okay? So the point is, right, if I could go back, and it doesn't even matter where I went back, right? I've done a lot of real estate investment. I have made millions of dollars in real estate. If I would have just focused on that, if I would have just become the best that I could at doing that, instead of becoming really good, I've become really good at a lot of things, but I haven't become the absolute best at anything. But if I would have focused on that, again, millions and millions of dollars, way more successful, way more enjoyable time. But instead, what you probably find yourself doing, and I found myself doing, is juggling a lot of stuff. And the further that you get down the road of life, the more stuff you're gonna tack on, you're gonna put in your backpack, and you're gonna have to carry with you. And that sucks, because now you don't have the time to focus on the thing. Now you've got all these things you have to maintain, all these balls in the air that you have to keep on juggling. And that's not good, that's not fun, right? It stresses you out, it burns you out. If you're feeling burned out right now, it's not because you have too much work, it's because you have too much different kinds of work. If you're feeling burnt out right now, it's not because you have too much work, it's because you have too much different kinds of work. If you could just focus on one thing and you could create some art, you could master it, right? And whatever you do to that degree of mastery, it becomes art, it becomes your craft, and you start to enjoy that thing. So like I said, if I could give you one piece of advice, if I could go back in time and give myself one piece of advice, it would be, don't move on. Don't move on to the next thing. Whatever it is that you're doing, get to that level of absolute mastery. Just focus on that thing. Become so good. What's that Cal Newport book? So good that they can't ignore you, right? That's what you have to do. And if you do that, you're gonna save yourself from wasting years of your life like I did, right? You got to think about this. I want you to really think about this concept. Really think about right now where you're at, and can you focus on just one thing and mastering that thing? You don't need to do 15 different things, right? That's the biggest mistake that I made in business, was I went and started doing this thing, and I was like, okay, now I need to do some email marketing. Now I need to do this thing. And I didn't master the step before I went on to the next one, right? And, you know, if you think about it this way, right, for what I'm doing, if I master YouTube, which I'm getting close pretty quickly, actually. When you're focused on one thing, it's amazing how quickly you can do that. Go check out that other channel if you want to see it. But when you focus on that, you're going to grow quickly. And then after I do that, then I could focus on the marketing part of it. Then I could focus on mastering that part and the sales part of it, right? But you have to master one thing first before you move on to the next thing. And what it turns out is that it doesn't even matter what the thing you pick is to master. If you just master one thing, because so few people have mastered one thing, you'll become rich just by mastering one thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's copywriting. It doesn't matter if it's programming. It doesn't matter if it's sales. It doesn't matter if it's YouTube videos or whatever it is. If you just master the one thing, put in that effort and don't do other things until you have mastered that thing, you're gonna be a lot more successful. But if you don't do that, you'll be like me. You might become successful like me, but man, it was hard to get here, and it was a lot of times not fun. And like I said, if I would have just focused, I would have got here, I would have got past here a lot faster.